Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I'm Rachel, and we do actually have a rainy day. We have actually mint tea because I am still getting over being a little under the weather, and we always have books. I do want to highlight this little mug. Isn't it so cute? I bought this from an Instagram artist. Her name, I think her studio is called Big E. And so this is like the little card that came with it. So I just want to make sure. Yeah, so it's like Biggie. And she makes the cutest handmade mugs. This is absolutely not sponsored. I just ended up, like, I saw this on her Instagram and I loved it so much. And it was handcrafted. And so I bought it because I love handcrafted things like that. So thanks to her for my new coffee slash tea mug that I will be using at all times. And I also realized today when I logged into my YouTube, because I forgot to post yesterday, so I'm going to post today and tomorrow, so they'll be back-to-back episodes, that we also reached 200 subscribers. So thank you guys so much. That is amazing. I am just a small little YouTube channel, so I'm pretty proud with that number because I talk about books, and that's pretty much what I do. And honestly, I'm giving away a $25 Barnes and Noble or Amazon gift card, e-gift card. So I think the only thing I'm asking you to do, no purchase necessary, by the way, is if you'll go, like, I'm going to try to give it to someone who leaves a comment on any of my episodes from January 1st of this year to present, and that can be in the next couple episodes as well. And just share my channel to anyone you think might like books, in whatever way feels right for you. It's just kind of one of those little asks. I would love that. And I think if we get to 500 next, then I will probably do a $50 gift card, and then I might do a live like Q&A. I don't know. I guess we'll see how that goes. But for right now, I am offering just an e-gift card to Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Again, no purchase necessary. And just help me kind of grow if you don't mind. That would be awesome. But let us dive into the book, and today we are talking about The Underwood Tapes by Amanda DeWitt. Now, this was a book that actually kind of blew me away. I was hooked so incredibly fast with this book. Now, it is considered YA, kind of mystery. I'm not sure if I call it horror. I think there is a bit of thriller, and there is some magical realism, but I don't think this book is getting enough. Like, I saw it on my NetGalley as a book that I could audiobook, and I want to say it was like an instant request. Like, if I requested it, then it would be instantly in my NetGalley to listen to. So I was like, oh, okay, that looks pretty cool. And honestly, I like a good YA mystery. Sometimes they're not as heavy hitting as what adult murder mysteries might be. So I was really kind of in the mood for that. Picked it up and was absolutely captivated. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the summary. So let's dive into that. A captivating and profoundly moving novel with hints of supernatural intrigue, blending We Were Liars and Your Name into a can't-miss read for fans of You've Reached Sam. Now, I haven't read You've Reached Sam, but if Your Name is the anime movie, that's a phenomenal movie, and We Were Liars was also an incredibly good read as well. I was, like, really hooked from the beginning. Like, well, it's a short read, but it's really good. So, into the summary of this particular book. 30 years ago, Grace's mom left her hometown of Hermitage, Florida, and never looked back, which is exactly why Grace thinks it's the safest place to spend her summer now. Since her mom died in a car crash, Grace has been desperate to get away from the memories and the reminders of her loss. Spending the summer transcribing cassette tapes for the Hermitage Historical Society might be boring, but boring is just what Grace needs. Until she hears the voice of Jake Underwood, the boy who first recorded the cassette tapes back in 1992, when Grace realizes he can hear anything she records. Despite 30 years of time between them, she strikes up an impossible conversation with Jake through the tapes. But the past isn't any simpler than the present, and a mystery has haunted Hermitage through the generations. In 1970, a hurricane made landfall and resulted in the tragic death of Jake's Uncle Charlie. In a town as suffocating as small as Hermitage, in a town as suffocatingly small as Hermitage, it's impossible not to notice how no one talks about that storm or Charlie, and as the mystery unfurls, Grace can't help but realize a worse truth. No one talks about Jake either. And so I think that's a perfect summary. Now, this says the Underwood tape is perfect read for anyone who's in need of a good cathartic cry. I didn't cry. I will go ahead and preface with I don't cry easily, and the things that do kind of move me to tears on like Instagram or Facebook are usually puppy or pet related. So like those things will like grab my heartstrings every time. But I thought this was really good. And so it says format of binding unknown, but it was first published, or will be first published February 4th, 2025 by Peach Tree Teens. And so I did have the recorded audiobook, which I do want to thank NetGalley for. They are just my primary place for getting these books. And sometimes I do get my own, like I use my book credits and stuff on Audible to also dive into those books as well. But I was absolutely, like I said, blown away by this book. I really, honestly, that's kind of funny because the book is kind of about this club called the Hurricane Club that was established in and around 1970, or at least when Jake is transcribing it in 1992. That's what the documents reference to, is that in 1970 this hurricane club was established, and there's a couple of initials, and then there's there's a list of rules, but there's not a whole lot else to go on other than Grace starts to believe that Charlie's uncle must have been part of this hurricane club as well, because his initials match up with one of the sets of initials on the thing, but so does Charlie's brother, who has like his initials on the charter as well. And so there starts to be this connection with this hurricane club and these cassettes that were recorded in 92, but she is now cataloging them for the Historic Society, just kind of saying this is what's on the tape in case for future reference the cassette tapes kind of, I guess, degrade, because cassette tapes will over time like degrade, break, get eaten by a recorder, those sorts of things. They are not things that were meant to last forever. There's very few forms of media that I think are meant to last forever, except for, I guess, the digital world. I think once you put it in the digital world in some capacity, public capacity perhaps, maybe it's there. Who knows? But we're not talking about the stayability of it. We're talking about this story between Jake, who was recording the tapes, and Grace, who is now more or less transcribing the tapes and cataloging them for the Historic Society. And though there isn't magic per se, there is a magic realism which does link the past to the present. And I don't think that's a spoiler. I'm going to try not to get into the spoiler, which is really, the spoiler part would be telling you about a lot about the mystery and how it unravels. So that's the part I'm really going to kind of avoid. But I'll tell you a little bit about the magical realism part. Because I had hopes of how I wanted this story to turn out, which in my head didn't really make a ton of sense, but I was also pretty realistic about it, because if you do read the story, then you'll kind of understand why you need to be realistic about the ending. But Grace moves to her mom's hometown gets this job in the Historic Society. Her job is to transcribe these tapes, and so she starts to hear Jake's voice. And he kind of does this little thing sometimes at the end of the tapes where he kind of makes his own little quirky comment or something, talks about like, oh, this is, really cool, or I thought this was different or unique, and, kind of leaves his mark on the ends of these tapes. Well, while she's transcribing them, she decides she's going to leave her mark in one of the blank spaces as well. She's just going to record her name and just like she was here sort of thing. It's kind of like when you I don't want to say sign a tree, but sign a wall, and in the future it may get painted over, it may be there for a while, it may, it may wear away. But she does that, and then the next day she goes back and picks up the next tape, just kind of keeping going. And Jake, on the recording from 30 years in the past, acknowledges what she had recorded in her own time of 2022. And she's blown away. She's like, this cannot be happening. He cannot be talking back to me. There's no way he heard what I said in the future or in 2022 when he's in 1992. So she's really kind of blown away. So she tries it again. And after a couple times, they start to get this rhythm of how they can talk back and forth to each other, which is really kind of cool. But they do start to try to unravel this mystery of the Hurricane Club, which seems to have links to his Uncle Charlie and his dad. Well, his dad, upon the recording, Jake's recording of these cassettes, Jake's father had previously passed away about 6 months 6 months before Jake's recording the cassette tapes. If you read it, you'll understand, and it won't sound like a confusing timeline, I promise. It's just me trying to convey it in some sort of way that I hope makes sense. But honestly, so Jake is without a parent. Grace is without a parent. They can both commiserate with each other, which is, it's sad, but it's nice to have someone who understands in the same capacity. So they do find kind of like that kindred soul with each other. And so there is a point where she kind of catches a glimpse of something. She's at a particular beach and she almost has this memory. Maybe it's a magical realism moment where the past and present collide again. But it's really, really cool. And I like how the mystery plays out. It makes, we learn why her mom didn't stay in Hermitage. And we learn a lot of other different things about this particular small town. I will say on one side of the coin, I don't like how one part of it played out. And maybe 1.5 parts of it. If you read it, you'll probably get it. But then I liked how they did wrap things up. It's bittersweet, to say the least. It is kind of a bittersweet ending, which honestly makes sense for this kind of book, but it really was so very good in a lot of different ways. So, even though you don't get the quote-unquote, what I'm going to call happy ending, you do get a very satisfactory ending, and I don't think there's going to be more to come. Now, I don't know if I said the author's name, but her name is Amanda DeWitt. These are called the Underwood tapes, and I honestly consumed this book in about 2 days, 2 audiobook sittings pretty much. It was probably about 12 hours long. I set my player to a 1.25, so maybe that makes it 10 hours long. I don't know. But over the course of about 2 days, I consumed this whole book. It was really hard for me to put it down because I kept wanting to know what was going to happen. So I was very intrigued. I was absolutely hooked, and I really wanted to recommend this book and put it out there because it doesn't look like a lot of people have maybe heard about it. There's not a ton of reviews, and I really want more people to just be aware of it because it is so incredibly good. I really hope that it can get some traction and find its audience because I know they're out there. I know that there are people who are going to love it, and yeah, it may not go viral, but I at least want it to get acknowledged as a really good book. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you guys again so much for being a part of my subscriber community. Or if you're not, you know how to do it down below. And I would love if you stuck around to hear more about the books that are coming up. I've got quite a few on deck, and I will see you guys on the next page. I hope you have a great one. Bye.